Thank you. And welcome. Why do I have this piece of paper, you may wonder? It has some movie titles on it, and if I were just to name most of the movies I've ever seen, most of them, it seems, would have been directed by my guest tonight. However, do you like movies? Then, if you do, did you like, I knew the answer. Did you like Born Yesterday, Gaslight, Garland and A Star is Born, Adam's Rib, My Fair Lady, The Women, Garbo and Camille, The Philadelphia Story, Les Girls, W.C. Fields and David Copperfield, Pat and Mike, Dinner at 8. If you liked any or all of these films, there's a good reason for you to like my guest. You can imagine the stories he must have. You don't have to imagine it because he's here. George Cukor. That's such a fragment of the true list of films that you've done. It must seem stunning.
Some are very, just as well to skip
left off.
Yes.
What's one to miss at all costs?
Well, there was, I tell you something very odd. I did one with Kate Hepburn called Sylvia Scarlett, which was a catastrophe in its day. And now the people are very sentimental when they do things. They say, oh, we'd love to see Sylvia Scarlett. That amuses her and amuses me. That, when we left, and if I talk too much, stop me.
Oh, okay.
When we left, it was a disaster. And when we left, she went into the ladies' room, and there was a woman lying on the sofa there, and Kate said, was it that bad? And everyone said, oh. And then we got in the car, came to my house where the producer was waiting, and we came in full of things. We'll do a picture for nothing, and we'll do it. And he said perfectly seriously, I never want to see either of you again. But he, alas...
The producer?
Yes, Pan Berman. But he, alas, was stuck with us for several others. But
could a thing like that have ended her career?
No, it didn't put her. She had a very ticklish time when she was known as box office poison.
Box office poison. It's amazing to think that
How
today.
stupid of me. And that was some press agent who said that, because she never was box office. She never should have been box office poison. But so a glib thing, and when you get a phrase like that, it sticks with you.
Yeah.
For example, they said, well, you're a woman's director. And I said, and for years I said, oh, thank you very much. And then suddenly I thought, well, there have been men in every picture that I've done, and it's such an absurd thing.
That's right, you've been labeled a women's director,
yes,
despite
yes.
Jimmy Stewart and others I could
and
name.
And Ronald Colman, yes,
sure.
and Spencer Tracy, a very distinguished man.
That's right. It would take a brave man to strike Katharine Hepburn.
Oh, that's nonsense. I just struck a light blow like this. I didn't strike her.
Is that all there was to it? I heard you gave her a real...
Oh, yeah, no. I don't know why I did, but I was sure justified. She was silly or something, and I hit her on the thing.
Did it have to do with getting her costume messed up or something? Or?
Oh, yes. I said, now, be careful now. Don't... naturally, and all these things, right before you go on, they say, there's only one of these, so you've got to be very careful. And so... anyway, she did something, and I said, why did you do that? Not as hard as that, but she knew that she did something wrong.
And she'd gotten ice cream on her costume,
yes,
apparently.
my God, you know more about me than I do. These are all old stories that I've forgotten, mercifully.
Well, mercifully, you haven't, because I know that is it Paul Morrissey?
Yes.
Who's doing a book about and with you, and
yes.
It's about time, even though on Cukor, nice pun in the title, it was an interesting book too. I like that.
Yes, very good, very well written.
Yeah.
But that's ancient history that been
sure.
years later.
Well, I may throw up a lot of ancient history at you.
You may throw up.
Well, no, I'm trying not to.
That's happened to me too.
When you saw Hepburn on my program some years back,
yes.
At one point she said, "I'm putting on the charm." Does that mean that I wasn't seeing the real Kate at all times?
No. She has real charm, and I think she would despise it. Why shouldn't she be charming? She's fun,
sure.
and she's talented, and a good friend. And no, I don't. Why was she being too gentle and too easy?
Well, one time I think I must have said something like, "It's wonderful to be seeing the real you or something, and I
Well,
think
that's
she said,
nonsense.
well, I'm
Yes,
just
yes.
putting on the charm.
Yeah, yes. She made
I
it
thought
funny.
it was a charming moment, by
Yes,
the way.
yes.
She's often said to be a real lady. People often use that phrase about her.
What's that mean?
Well, I don't know, but one thing it might mean is that that she doesn't use bad language.
Oh, she never used to. And when I've known her for all these years, I would say a lot of her friends do, mind you, and said, damn it, or something like that. Am I allowed to say that?
How would I know?
No, no. Anyway, she's, I remember, this was many years ago when you didn't use that language, you know, but she uses it now herself, not the luscious four-letter words.
How hard is it for you to edit yourself as we sit here now? Because you're known for your salty language, and
Well, now I'm making a good impression, and
Right.
it'll be seen by millions, and I have some relatives here, so they're...
I once saw, now where would I say I saw this? I didn't see it at all. Someone told it to me, and it's so vivid, I think I saw it. A man was buying sheets, and Garbo was buying sheets in this New York store next to him, and she signed the bill, and of course he tried to buy it, and they wouldn't sell it to him.
Really, I think that's an apocryphal story. I think it's very unlikely.
So my friend's a liar.
No, anybody very trusting. I think she's too clever to do that.
Yeah. It was just at the sales slip. He went to the
see.
sales lady and said, could I buy that? And she said, no, we're not allowed to do that. And then probably sold it to an autograph dealer.
No,
But
she doesn't like to give autographs.
The fascination with Garbo remains, and
The mystery of
and the mystery remains. And people often say to me, when will you have her on? And
Well,
I
why
think,
don't you have her on?
well, I'm always getting a haircut or something when she's available. But what would she? There's no way she would ever do a thing like that, is there?
No, I don't think so.
Television
I
type,
don't think so. I
herself.
really don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't know why she shouldn't. She looks charming, and she's having a birthday soon. Maybe you could celebrate her birthday.
I'd be glad to.
Yes. No, she's not. She's not done it. That's the Swedish in her.
What does she like to talk about? When you see her, what do you talk about?
Well, I think this is, have I said this before? One night I had her for dinner, and Mae West was there for dinner. That was quite a combination. And Mae West likes to talk, and I said, what? Did I tell you the story?
I want to hear it again.
Well, when Garbo came in, first of all, Roddy McDowell was there, and he had met everybody in the world, but not Garbo. And I said I'd hope that he would drop dead or some terrible thing, you know, to see her come in. But she came in, and Mae West was wonderful. She got up, and she had never met her before, and she said, hello, dear, and she kissed on the cheek, and Garbo said, I've not been kissed. Why, you know, we were like that. And she was, then Mae West talked and talked, and Garbo listened, and finally but she was very, very, very funny and very nice, and they were admiring. She and Hauser were saying, look at her beautiful hands. She has skin not full of pockmarks. And
Mae West.
Mae West has, yes. Very lovely skin, which she's taken care of.
And Garbo simply
admired that.
listened and...
Listened, she didn't have a chance to talk. And, so, you know, she spoke, and it was a very pleasant evening up to a certain point. And then that was enough after a certain time.
Most people would be struck dumb around her, I would think. You wouldn't know whether to mention current books.
Oh, no, she's very clever and very, very watching everything. No, she's not a dreamer or remote at all. I never thought I'd be talking about Garbo after all these years, because she's a friend of mine, but I hadn't worked with her for a long time, and I didn't. There's this passionate interest in her, isn't there?
Yes, and by keeping herself aloof, she retains it.
She has beautiful manners, and she's very gay and funny.
Do you have any reason to believe that she struggles with the idea of maybe doing another film?
No, I shouldn't think so.
Even now?
I've asked her, and I shouldn't think so. And she was for years and years at Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, and then she decided. She left Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, and Mayer who was not my confidant, told me that she was very generous and very well behaved and very nice. And then she said she was going to do a picture abroad, and waited and waited, and the people apparently did not. She was humiliated because they didn't raise the money. And I said, give me your contract and I will take it to my lawyer. And he said, they owe her this, they owe her that. And then I said, listen, don't go until you're sure that they... Well, she went. She listened to my advice. And I learned that she was humiliated by the whole thing. And then that didn't mean that she wanted to retire. I don't think that caused her retirement. But also, she has a very accurate eye, and she said it would be awfully painful to her she was very easy to photograph, and it'd be awfully painful to her to have to be very careful and cagey, about being photographed. So she just left, said, that's it, and left.
Forever?
Forever. And people have tempted to asked her to come back, and I sent her scripts, and I talked to her about it, and she's Swedish, very stubborn.
You're supposed to have what they call a very happy set when you're working, but you must have had times when somebody...
Yeah, when I was unhappy.
or an actor was incorrigible, or
no,
drunk, or
well,
both.
I coped with that. After a while, I used to say, well, stop it, and that doesn't mean, and I also have forgotten unpleasant moments, you see.
Sure.
Life is very pleasant. I don't remember any such things, but I'm sure I've been through them.
Were you ever tempted to say to John Barrymore?
No, he was a friend of mine, and he was absolutely charming and very easy and very witty and very nice. Not John Barrymore. There were other stoop-nagels that I have worked with that, besides...
Stoop-nagels?
Yeah, that's old-fashioned. No, I mean stupid people who are silly. But I think it's up to the director to make a whole atmosphere where people work happily or and not have crises and all that.
I was wondering if you ever tempted to say to Barrymore when he was, as they say, past it, you're embarrassing yourself, John, on the screen.
No. I never felt he was. You see, I must tell you something. There was a picture that Darryl Zanuck, who's the head of Fox, wanted to do, and it's the story of a man, an oldish actor, with his daughter, and Kate Hepburn said she was going to start to rehearse something in New York. She told Zanuck, whom she didn't know really, she said, if Barrymore ever says he will do it, I will come out here happily at my own expense to do the test if you want to test.
Really?
Yes. She admired him a great deal.
Yeah.
And he was very sweet with him.
I'm wondering if it ever depresses you in any way when... I haven't seen your home, but it's been described to me, and there are pictures of so many people that you've worked with.
Yes.
And I was thinking Garland, Monroe, Kay Kendall, Harlow. Vivian Leigh was a good friend of yours.
Yes,
Judy Garland, of course. Did I mention her? And,
does that depress me to see that picture?
Judy Holliday, all gone.
Yes, that's sad. It's sad.
Yeah.
But it's natural, if you have any common sense, you realize that it so happened you're around, but they're not. And I think we're awfully stupid to be sentimental about this and that they're gone. I think that's a silly expression anyway.
I was just thinking of how many of those ladies died early and for various reasons and all. Did you ever sense that they were doomed?
No. No, I didn't.
Even Harlow? Or...
No, she was a very sweet, cheerful girl, and I didn't know that she was going to die, but she had very nice manners and very well behaved. I sound so sweet about everybody, but she happened to be a very nice girl.
Yeah.
They weren't all darlings all the time.
No.
But that's part of the director's job, is to see that that they are on their best behavior.
Sure.
And I tell you what I think it is. If they feel they're getting their money's worth, the director is doing things that would be good for them.
Mm-hmm.
They're perfectly sweet.
Sure. What about husbands of stars?
I don't remember, I suppose they are. They're not ever present, and also I'm not sure how long they last. But no, I don't involve myself in that.
Why is it you never hear a good word about the late Adolphe Menjou? I know that's...
Yes, because he was I don't want to use the four-letter word here. He was a dreadful creature. He was in every way, and I didn't like him, and he was a bad sport, and also a bad actor, which is the great crime.
Yeah.
No, but some people must love him. I thought he was a horror.
Well, see how sweet you can be when you want to be?
No, I just
What was it?
Tell you what he did.
When you find someone so universally despised, it's interesting to know what he...
Well, in the first of all, he was a super
things.
patriot. Everybody was a communist, and everybody was this and that, and he was the great, the super patriot, and he was a fool, and talked about a lot of things he didn't know anything about. But for a time there was this thing about, you're a communist, and this one's a communist, and he stepped up and point out who was a communist. He just behaved very badly.
So he wasn't even accurate about it?
No.
Yeah.
And it was none of his damn business. But that was, for a time, that was very fashionable to point the finger.
Mm-hmm.
I think you probably would have been a communist at that time. I thought it was because you're a liberal, which is very bad news.
Am I?
Yes, I think you are.
Oh. Thank you, I think. Now let's see, the two ladies who supposedly ruled Hollywood, Hedda Hopper and the other one.
Yeah. I don't think they
What was their
Hollywood.
miserable name?
Hedda Hopper and Luella Parsons.
Luella Parsons.
No, they were gossip columnists, and they were successful at the time. I don't think they had all that power at all. I don't think a lot of people listened to them. There was a lot of people who buttered them up. But I don't, I see somebody who had their own firm, they wouldn't be particularly nice or polite to them.
Really? Because I've always heard that everybody but Clark Gable and Bing Crosby lived in fear of them, and they were about the only two people could think of who had the nerve to turn down their invitations to parties and so
I think
on.
that's
exaggerated.
Exaggerated, yes. I know a lot of people who didn't go.
Yeah.
And a lot of people who were not. They were, was a good-natured Luella Parsons. She was perfectly good-natured and was very nice to people. She was a lousy columnist, but she was a very, very shrewd, and nobody beat her to a thing. It was all, in fact, she wrote a book called The Gay Illiterate. She was pretty illiterate, but she was shrewd and cagey. Mm-hmm. But I don't think this business about everybody buttered them up to go to their party. I don't think that was so.
Yeah. When do you suppose we'll ever get to the bottom of the mystery involving her? She's supposed to have gotten her job by being aboard a ship when
yes, I heard that.
When William Randolph Hearst shot a man. The story's been around for so many years.
But she was a very expert, illiterate columnist, but she really knew what she was doing, and nobody beat her to what she considered important. And no, I think that's too simple.
Yeah. Earlier, when I said Harlow, I think I meant to say even Garland, as someone who people said early on you could tell she would come to a bad end, and yet they liked her so much. And
I don't know how they could tell it. I don't know how they could tell it, really. Before.
Well, I suppose any child who goes through what she did.
Yes, but she was a star for years and years, and whatever happened to her is sad, because she was enormously gifted, and I don't think was as gifted and really showed what she could do.
You mean we never really saw how much was there?
Never really how much was there.
Really?
Yes.
We saw so much.
Yes.
And,
no, but I remember in one, I'm trying to think, that she said, you know, I did a picture with her, The Star is Born,
Yeah.
which was cut in a miserable way, but she said, you know, this is the first time in this picture that I've ever cried on the screen, because usually she had to be awfully happy, and she could cry and she could do everything, but she was never called upon. And then she had certain ambitions that she would have liked to have done, and certain parts that I think she should have done, but it didn't work out. She was difficult to work with.
I had her on a show years ago, and I had a feeling there was a wonderful sense of humor there.
Enormous humor, enormous humor. And she would tell stories and about whatever happened to her, and she would play a small, bad part. And for example, she'd go and see, there was an actress, a pretty actress called Lucille Bremer, who was the heroine. And Judy was always there watching and always playing a rather stupid, bad part, which she had a wonderful sense of the absurd.
Yeah. Did she say funny, nasty things about people? Is that the sort of sense
Not
of humor?
nasty, it was just funny, absurd.
Yeah.
No, she was very, very clever and very intelligent.
Yeah.
Very intelligent.
Yeah. Did you know her toward the end when she was in?
Well, I
did you
knew
still
her
see her,
I knew her. When Dirk Bogarde was directing her, and she was in London. I think she wasn't very clever about herself.
Yeah.
But I think very talented, and didn't go as far as she could have gone because she was so gifted.
Yeah. That's interesting. Mr. Cukor, you'll be with us next time, and I have some more of the friends and perhaps a few enemies. We can talk about them.
Yes.
George Cukor, and we'll see you tomorrow night. Good night.
Funding.
I'm glad to say that my guest again tonight is George Cukor, a man who has directed everyone from Garbo to W.C. Fields, and whose career has spanned 50 and more years. He's 81 years old at the moment. Did I just make you older than you are?
I'm
He's
pretty old.
45. How old are you, Mr. Cukor?
I'm 81.
Oh, yes.
And soon I'll be 82, which is very
Did you think I
aged.
said 91?
No. It just sounds intimidating.
Oh, I see.
And that I'm ambulatory or something.
We have no idea how old he is, but it was so interesting to hear him reminisce and talk about the past and the present. He's very much alive in the present, I'm happy to say. And here he is again, George Cukor, as you know. You know, I was surprised in something I read about you that, and also I learned this in talking to Richard Burton on this show. There are well-known leading men who don't like, or in some cases can't do, love scenes.
Yes.
Strange. Burton said he doesn't like to be touched, and he doesn't like to do
nonsense.
and he doesn't like to do love scenes for that reason. It embarrasses him. And
Oh.
is that nonsense?
Oh, he's breaking my heart.
Yes, that's
I think
suffering.
that's absolute nonsense.
Is it?
Yes.
Why would he say such a thing?
Maybe he thinks you're gullible. And how can you be a leading man with everybody drooling about you, all these ladies drooling, and he doesn't like to be touched?
Mm-hmm.
Seems absolutely absurd.
Not in private life, but in public, in doing, I think he's been touched in private life.
Oh, I bet he has. I've never heard that about him. I've
No.
heard all kinds of things.
Yeah.
Well, that's very...
But have you never run across this, or have you found that some of the best-known lovers on the screen are awkward in doing it, or hard to...
Not particularly, not particularly.
No?
I think you've got to watch that they don't become too sexy. But no, I think they've had a lot of experience.
Ronald Colman, for example.
Oh, Ronald Colman was very well behaved, very nice, very civilized, and he didn't mind being touched. And he was very kind to Shelley Winter, who was her first picture, and she was inclined to be rather snotty. And he was very sweet to her, and she never annoyed him at all. She annoyed me plenty, although I think she's a gifted actress.
Yes.
But no, he was very kind to her.
Are you one of the few people in Hollywood who doesn't appear in her sexual memoirs?
Alas, yes, I'm furious about that. I'm not sure.
I'd sue if I were you.
I'm not sure. Did you appear in them?
I appear in the book, but not in that role.
Oh. I'm not sure it's very flattering, I must say, and the book is a huge success.
Yeah.
How gullible people are. Not about believing Shelley Winter's romantic life, but really it seems so silly.
But to talk about it and...
Yes, and to do books, you know.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of other stuff in the book, but as she points out, everybody pretends they are interested in the other stuff, but they all ask her about that.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't think it was so tantalizing. I didn't read it, but I don't think her life everybody's rushing into bed, but she's very shrewd because that apparently made the book a huge success.
Were you friends with W.C. Fields?
No, I liked him very much. He worked for a very short time. He worked a week or two. Originally, Charles Lawton was going to do the part, Micawber, and Charles Lawton didn't think he was right for it. And he really, when we asked W.C. Fields, who had never played a part, whether he liked to do it, he said, oh, sure, yes, he was very pleased. And he was fun to work with, but he'd never done a legitimate part.
Right. He was a great reader of Dickens, though, I guess, in private life.
That I didn't know. Now, I'm learning things.
I think he identified with the bad childhood of so many Dickens characters.
Yes.
David Copperfield, he'd like to read over and over.
Really? He never told me that. But
really?
No, but I thought he was charming to work with and modest and very nice, and he wasn't outrageous or anything like that. I suppose he was so scared. You know, it's the first sort of legitimate thing. And the whole David Copperfield was a very legitimate story, but I thought it's a question of perfect casting. He was cast so well as Micawber.
And his drinking wasn't a problem when working with him?
No drinking at all.
Yeah.
Not that I saw it.
Yeah.
I'm not very clever about detecting that, but I saw nothing at all like that.
Yeah.
Order today.
Looking at the list of your films, it would seem that you've had nothing but success, and
I've had
at least in being employed, even though some of the films you say were turkeys.
Yeah.
But has there ever been a real low point where you thought it's all over, this is it?
No, I never thought that. I didn't have the guts to think of it, and I really was not at a low point. But I was put off the biggest picture, Gone with the Wind, and I did a picture right off the reel, The Women, and I'm still alive to tell the tale. As a matter of fact, in Russia, there was a young man who was with us. It was a press agent or something, and he was put out of the country for reasons, not just for our reason.
An American?
An American who was working, Englishman. And I said to him, my dear boy, remember, this was my farewell speech. I was put off the biggest picture ever made, and I'm here to tell the tale. So don't be upset by it. And it depends on you if you let it harm you, if you let it throw you, and you'll be done in by it.
Why were you? It's like
I never know.
Gone with the Wind. You had made part of it, pre-production, I guess.
I'd made all the tests, all the casting. I worked with David Selznick, and this is all ancient history, and I was on the picture, I think, 2 or 3 weeks, and that stuff is in the picture. And then I was removed for whatever reason. I've heard all kinds of reasons why I was removed.
You didn't shoot any of it yourself?
Oh,
but you
yes,
had
I
planned-
did. Oh, no, I shot 2 or 3 weeks.
Oh, I didn't realize that. I thought you had been in pre-production.
No, I shot scenes which I believe are still in the picture. So,
How could you not know? I mean, have you not checked to see?
Well, I checked and I've forgotten. You
Oh, I see.
I
Yeah.
don't. What I did was very clever. I did not let that throw me and embitter me. And oh God, my life is ruined because I never thought it was.
Yeah.
I just thought it was very foolish to. We all have what we call kicks in the ass. And you've got to. Can I say that?
You just did. It seemed.
Anyway, you must, take the good with the bad and have a certain amount of guts and pride.
Do you entertain any pet theory of why you were removed?
No. As a matter of fact, I'm going to ask before I'm through. I can't ask David Selznick because he's not alive, and he was a great friend of mine. I did speak at his funeral. I
Yes.
remained a friend. I don't know why. I think they tell me the story is that Gable objected to me, didn't think I could cope with men, and that I cope with Spencer Tracy and Ronald Colman and other men, but I don't know really why I was fired.
That could be that your reputation as a women's director. He might have thought
what nonsense
he'll let
that
the
is.
woman steal the movie.
Oh,
Perhaps.
what nonsense! No one steals anything from anybody. It is the author, and that's awfully stupid. You're a lousy director if you sort of push things one way or the other. I think it's determined by the text, by the scenes, and then you do it. But there was some mystery, and I don't know what it was. Maybe I'll find out. Next time you ask me to come on, I say I have a great revelation. I know why I was fired.
Who could tell you?
Who's that?
Someone said Irene.
Maybe if she would.
Oh, Irene Selznick.
Yes. Do you think we're not very friendly at the moment, so it's not very likely that she would tell me. I know that there was a great deal of nonsense that went on when they did the Boston Kanan wrote thing where somebody played me. I just saw that little bit, but apparently.
Oh, Moviola.
Apparently, I went around telling people, "I'll put you in this picture. I'll put you in that picture." And of course, I didn't know that I was going to be fired. So I didn't quite believe that. And then I think some of I did not admire the way certain actors played the part. Joan Crawford and those people. I didn't think they were good looking enough.
Yeah. Really?
Really.
Good.
I think she was a beauty. And I think it would be probably too expensive to engage actors like that. But that was a big success, I believe.
Yeah. How did Miss Hepburn take the publication of a book about her? And
I think she disliked it. She felt betrayed, but she's been so used to all that. She, if anybody wanted to write a book, I could write a book too. And she writes very well. But I think she was appalled at the thing. But she's been betrayed many times in her life. And also, it was very clumsy and awkward and badly written. But she said, that's what you get for being a movie star.
Are you talking about the Tracy Hepburn book or
Yes,
the other
yes,
one?
yes.
Or is it-
Well, whatever it is, that one was called Kate, and
Yeah.
it was inaccurate and silly book. And the Tracy Hepburn book, she never mentioned. She spoke very well about her friendship with Spencer Tracy, but there was an awful lot of crap written about that.
You'd think that anyone who knew her would know that if she wanted a book written, she'd do it
She'd
herself.
write it and write it very well, too.
Yeah. I wish you would.
Well, maybe she will. I'll tell her that you advised her to do it.
Okay.
No, she's busy working, but she writes extremely well. All the little bits and pieces that she writes, and they're very amusing. And she's written some things in the script that we've done, and very cleverly.
She was removed from a picture you were working on, and I
Yes.
can't conceive of that because most people would give anything to get her.
That was an unfair and stupid thing to do.
Yeah.
And Maggie Smith took over. It was a play of Graham Greene's. I really...
Travels with Man.
Yes,
I didn't realize.
yes.
Yeah.
It'd been quite different if she'd played it. I thought that was... We've all had, what I call a kick in the ass.
Yeah.
And she was wonderfully behaved, and she became a friend of Maggie Smith. And in fact, she offered Maggie Smith to wear this dress or this thing. She was very generous about it. And also, I was very upset. I thought, I should leave too. And she said, don't leave, don't leave. You're wrong. And so I stayed on and did the picture.
What about the legends of the casting couch have been with us to a nauseating degree over the years. And I often wondered, are there any really significant careers that were
really.
begun by
Really.
on the casting couch?
Well, I mean, helped along maybe, but really, I think to make a movie costs $2 million, and I don't think any couch is worth that. I think some people have weaknesses and have, but the business of anybody getting a job for the casting couch, I don't believe that.
Yeah.
Now maybe they can push it along a little bit, but I don't believe that. It's too big a business.
Yeah. I did 5 programs with Jed Harris.
I did not admire him very much. That's the sound of distaste.
That was a voluntary sound.
Yes, that was a voluntary. I didn't like him very much. You did, apparently.
Yeah.
I never saw those programs.
And he was...
he wasn't always truthful either.
No?
No.
There's a man that many people said, as I said to him on the show, there are people who've said they wouldn't sit in the same room with you.
Yes. I don't think he cared.
No, he seemed utterly immune to anything like that.
Yes.
It obviously
He
seemed
had certain hateful characteristics.
Hateful?
And also, yes, I think he did a lot of people in, you know. He was full of charm. I mean, I don't think Kate liked him, and Ina Claire, anybody who had any experience. Also, they said he wasn't a very good director.
Really?
Yes.
He certainly had a string of successes.
He had a string, but I don't think he directed those.
Who did?
Well,
Oh, you mean he produced them rather than...
produced them and directed them.
I see, yeah.
He had a very sad life. It was very sad that he ended up rather unhappily. In fact, there was some place that I came and he said, well, I can't bear me, and I'll have to leave, and he left. I took that as a flat because he wasn't a nice man. You liked him, didn't you?
It's hard to say whether I liked him or not. Yeah, I guess I did like him because he seemed to be terribly much self-possessed, and you have to, there's something admirable about someone who doesn't care what anybody thinks about them. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Of course, it could be, if it's Hitler, that's not admirable. But, and I don't know how many people he did in what ways.
I
There might be some of those I think were...
didn't see him on your program.
Yeah, I'm sure he was unspeakable in many ways.
Yes.
But there was something certainly charming about him, to the degree where I could see why many people were mesmerized by him. And
up to a point, and then turned on him.
Women apparently were just
mesmerized
devastated by
up
him.
to a certain point,
Yeah.
and then turned on him. So I don't think they were mesmerized with that he behaved rather badly.
Yeah.
It's a terrible thing to say about somebody who's in heaven now, fluttering around. And I didn't like him.
Yeah. You didn't like him, is that the point?
No.
Yeah. Did you like Tallulah Bankhead?
Oh, very much. She was adorable and funny, and she had this wonderful sense of humor, and she was perfectly nice and kind and cheerful.
You seem to have had a life about which somebody said, Gavin Lambert, I think, that the life and the work have been happy partners. It's a nice phrase.
Yes, it is. Where did you say that? In the book on Cukor?
In the book on Cukor, yeah.
Yes. It wasn't always happy.
Do you buy that description? You seem
well, nothing is always happy, and we've all had disappointments and kicks and this and that, but you cope with it. We've had a lot of good luck and good things, but I don't. That we're in this business where everything can't be sweet. I've had a lot of disappointments, but there's no place such a bore to talk about them.
Does an Oscar mean anything to you, or has
Yes,
it in the list?
yes, I've had only one, sadly, but if they were giving, maybe when you get very aged, they give you one just for sheer stick-to-itiveness.
Survival.
Yes, survival, yes.
Flex tape.
When I think of the people you saw, you've admitted to being a stage-struck kid. It was the stage, really. You thought
Yes,
movies were
yes.
not worth
But
bothering
I
with
forgot
anymore.
the stage.
Uh-huh.
Up to a certain point, I, in fact, went back and was persuaded to do a play by Ian Bagnall, and I didn't like it. And when I left Boston, where it opened, and I had directed, and another director came on, I felt as though I'd been let out of reform school. I was so pleased and determined never again to have anything to do with the theater.
Once that was going to be your life, wasn't it? The
Yes,
stage?
oh yes, I was really stage struck, and it was thrilling to me.
You saw Nijinsky, I believe.
Yes, I did.
And you've seen great ballet dancers today.
Yes, yes.
Is it possible to compare?
Not really. I don't know enough about dancing, and I thought Nijinsky was lovely, and I think the present one, what's his name?
Well, Nureyev, Baryshnikov.
Nureyev, yeah, Nureyev and Baryshnikov. They're wonderful dancers.
Yeah. Had you not been told it was Nijinsky, would you have just been transported by seeing them?
No, I sat. I was much younger then, and I was thrilled. As a matter of fact, he was not at his best. That was at the Metropolitan Opera House where he appeared. He was not at his best.
Do you find much talent in the film students today when you lecture and so on? Do you see that?
You can't tell, really. They're all very polite, and they're glad to see somebody alive. But no, I can't tell a damn thing. Also, I don't think anybody can tell. I can't look at somebody and say, oh, yes, except if you say she's a beautiful girl. That's very good marks, but you really can't tell whether they're very gifted. You have to see them on the screen. And a lot of people are wonderful looking, and they don't really look all that good on the screen.
I wondered about that. What is that mystery of certain faces that are beautiful?
Well, yes, that are wonderful, that move beautifully and have eyes and things. That is, they were very sharp about that. The studios would be.
They'll say that she has a face the camera loves.
Yeah, so I've heard.
Can you spot those faces,
No,
or is it often a surprise?
No,
when you see it?
often a surprise. It's a surprise to everybody.
I think it's Malcolm Cowley has written a book. I think it's called The View from 80, but I may be wrong. And you've admitted to being 81, if that's
Yes.
something one has to admit.
Yes.
And I wonder, I can't imagine what that's like, of course.
To be 81, you'll be amazed how quickly it comes on you.
I'm
I
sure.
used to think, oh, hey, my God, you'll be dead. And then, no, I don't want to die that quickly.
It doesn't feel like living in a foreign country. It doesn't feel like,
not at all. Not at all. Not at all. Although people push you here and there. But no, not at all. Not at all. I find life thrilling.
That's wonderful. Is there any chance that you're happier now than you were
No, I
at
was
earlier
always
times?
happy. I was always perfectly happy. That doesn't mean that I didn't have things that disappointed me, but I think people are professionally unhappy. And besides, no one is really interested. I said, after your mother dies, no one cares that much. and get on with it.
Get on with it.
Yeah. So.
And so you don't like conversations that begin, there are only a few of us left,
Oh,
George.
no, it bores me.
Yeah.
They're bores.
Do you-
I spoke today to a friend of mine whom I knew for a long time, and she told me, maybe I'm a cad to say, but she's going to celebrate her 80th birthday, and she's full of Helen Hayes.
Helen Hayes?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, so I was a stage manager. I've known her all these years, and she's going to do it in a very nice way. I shouldn't tell this. Let Helen Hayes tell it on the show. She's going to do it at the Actors' Home. So there'll be old actors there.
Oh, that's nice.
Yes.
That's nice.
I shouldn't tell her secrets.
Did you ever, you, of course, you didn't work with Louise Brooks, but...
No, I didn't, and I'm
wonderful.
so bored with all that stuff about how wonderful she was, because...
Really?
Yes.
Because there's too much of...
Well, I don't know why they write all these love letters about her.
She was wonderful.
Oh, she was. Well, I didn't see her enough. But I don't know why they go on
And
about
is,
her.
in fact.
Oh, and is, yes,
Yeah.
sure.
She's a
Have you
dear
ever seen-
friend of
have you
mine.
have you ever seen her?
No, but I owe her a letter.
You do?
Yeah.
Write it to her.
I
Very
will do
nice.
that, yes.
And say that I do admire her.
I will tell her that.
Sure.
George Cukor, thank you again for being here. Our time has gone.
Oh,
What
I
can
hope
we do?
I hope it wasn't heavy going for you.
No, not at all. Not at all. I find you were a pussycat. See you next time. Good night.